mean, it is hard. Like, it really is hard for athletes. Sorry. I never thought I'd struggle with it, but I mean, like, for some reason, when I wasn't fighting or in camp, I was just doing my head in. You know what I mean? I needed a fight, and then this opportunity come up, and you know, I'll be honest, I wasn't training as much as I should have, but I thought I had to, you know, I had to do it. I had to take it. I thought it would be, you know, I'm telling myself it's meant to be. Obviously, I was struggling a little bit, not fighting, doing my head in. I don't know how. Everything's fine. I've got a beautiful family, but I don't know. You know, I think you just need to keep busy. So that's why, I just ask the UFC to, you know, just keep me busy, because you know, I need to be keeping busy. I need to be in camp. Otherwise, I'm going to do my head in. So, you know, that's, yeah.
Talked about this in my last video towards the end, but I wanted to go a little bit more into depth about how worrying I would say it is to me where Volkanovski's head is at and what the future could possibly hold for him. UFC 294 Abu Dhabi, Makhachev versus Volkanovski 2 ended in pretty brutal fashion. I can say I didn't expect that. Volkanovski, despite all the talk prior to the fight and him saying that he was going for the finish, he looked really hesitant.
Yeah, I wanted to. Obviously, I've been telling you, obviously, want to put some hands on him and whatnot. I wanted to pull the trigger, but I know, it just felt. I guess it felt a little weird in there. Just that little bit hesitant, which I didn't expect. Didn't expect. I was waiting for something. I was like, all right, I'm gonna go, and then he got me.
And then that hesitancy led him to a first round head kick KO. Seems to be a trend since Leon Scott knocked out Marty Fake Newsman. I said it already, but I had a bad feeling about him taking this fight on such short notice and after receiving the injury they had to recover from, which was an absolutely terrible idea. He couldn't get back to full contact training until 6 weeks after July 18th. I saw a lot of people saying that he was going to decimate Makhachev even with 11 days notice. Just go ask Bobby Green. He had 8 days notice to fight Islam, and the fight ended in a similar fashion. First round TKO. And it's like Volkanovski said, you can't train for a guy like that on short notice. I think it's kind of crazy though how the narrative switched over time. Everyone said Volkanovski was going to get steamrolled the first fight when it ended up being a very close decision. That some would argue robbery for Volkanovski based on damage alone. And then this time, everyone thought Volkanovski was going to destroy Makhachev, and I didn't see it either of those ways. If it were under ideal circumstances, I do believe that we could have had another close fight like the last time, or Volkanovski could have very well. I think he would have finished him in 3 rounds, or had a very convincing decision over Makhachev. Unfortunately, now because of this not very well thought out decision that he made, we're never going to know because a short notice, off the couch, out of shape Volkanovski decided to take this fight. He even said in this post fight interview that he hadn't been training as well, and it showed. He was 180 pounds. He had to cut 26 pounds just to get to the lightweight championship limit. And that's not to be offensive to Volkanovski. It's just to highlight how truly underprepared he was for this fight. And he never should have taken it. I know Gamrot doesn't have the style to sell pay-per-views, but the main card was already a snoozer, so why not just add this fight on top of it? I'd much rather Gamrot stepped in as he was willing to, rather than see Volkanovski get destroyed like that. I just feel like this whole main card was mostly a nothing burger. Nobody really progressed in terms of their career. Said Nurmagomedov, he isn't ranked. Ikram Aliskerov didn't fight a ranked opponent, so he's not going anywhere. Magomed Ankalaev and Johnny Walker, that was a shit show and ended terribly. Usman and Chimaev, well, Chimaev looked absolutely terrible against the 170 pounder that stepped up on 11 days' notice. And if they give Chimaev the title shot, then that's a disgrace because he does not deserve it, especially after fighting another 170 pounder. And then Usman should just quit MMA, but that's a whole different topic on and of itself. And then we just see Volkanovski get decimated, so that we might have just seen the end of Volkanovski's prime because of a rash decision. It was a nothing burger. But I understand you can't really move UFC events like that. It's already been brought up. Even Islam's been bringing it up, like the same way that John Jones screwed up a UFC pay-per-view event because he wouldn't fight Chael Sonnen. To get to the main crux of this video, I'm going to go into some of my reasoning as to why I think there should be concern. It's not just the future of Volkanovski's career, but him as a person, like his mental state. I genuinely hope he's okay as a person because that post-fight interview was very alarming. He's not talking about slowing down anytime soon. He's talking about going full steam ahead and insists on fighting Ilia Topuria in January.
Yeah. So to be clear, I mean, and I understand your motivation now, January is something you very much want.
Yeah, I need to, like I said, I need to be busy. Again, this is it's just I think my main purpose, obviously now, is family and fighting. And when I'm not fighting, I feel like I'm not ticking all the boxes. I need to be ticking the boxes. I don't like wasting time. That's why I've talked to my manager. Obviously before this, I'm like, we need to keep me busy. It's weird. I've never, again, to be honest, it's never really happened. Maybe it was just with the newborn and the surgery and that, it's.
I don't like that fight being so close to this last fight after this loss. I understand Volkanovski doesn't really have much time left as an athlete and needs to get all the fights in now while he's nearing the end of his prime. The problem is, I don't think that he sees at all an end to his fighting career in sight. Nowhere near, hasn't even crossed his mind, it doesn't seem. There's no concept of him putting on the brakes in terms of competing. And as we all have seen, competing at the highest levels in lower weight classes in your late 30s it's not very common and it doesn't bode well. It's one thing to be in your late 30s at heavyweight or even 205, maybe even middleweight as well. But at these higher weight classes, you don't require the same amount of speed that, say, a flyweight would, which you obviously lose as you age. Considering all of this, I don't think you do a turnaround that soon after a KO loss. Not just any turnaround. You're talking about Ilia Topuria, one of the most dangerous guys in the featherweight division, undefeated. From what I've seen of his fights so far, I don't really know too many weaknesses that he possesses that could really be capitalized on yet. And I want to mention really quick that I have a weird feeling, not one that I can really explain at all or make any sort of breakdown as to why I think this. There's no logical reason why I think this. And this is well before what had just happened this past week. And I've just been, it's been on my mind, just a thought. But I have a feeling that Ilia Topuria will beat Volkanovski if he fights him, but won't beat Holloway. There is no legitimate reasoning as to why I think this, and it's not based off of anything other than just like kind of a gut feeling. But at the same time, MMA doesn't really make sense because how did Dricus beat Robert Whittaker? So logic can get thrown out the window every now and then. Ilia Topuria could very well fast track Volkanovski's downward spiral. We've already seen what he did to Josh Emmett for 5 rounds, and I think he could have finished that fight sooner. But I think he was toying with Emmett and wanted to make a statement. He didn't want people to say that he just got some kind of a fluke KO. So that's a dangerous guy that you don't just want to make a quick turnaround like that coming off of this type of loss in the first round. Volkanovski needs to slow down his competition, especially for this fight. Make the Holloway and Topuria fight. Let Volkanovski defend against Topuria if he wins. But I don't want to see Holloway and Volkanovski 4 because that ship sailed with the last fight. And I don't even like that they're trying to promote some kind of interim title between these two. At least that's what I've seen thrown out there. Anyway, I think Volkanovski's going to run himself into the ground well past his prime, and we're going to see another case of another Anderson Silva, Chuck Liddell, Tony Ferguson type situation. There's no idea of quitting or stopping in this man's mind. There's no end in sight. And he needs training camps. He needs the competition. He needs something to get ready for. The way he made it sound in the post-fight press conference that he needs MMA to kind of fulfill his sense of purpose. Not quite in those words, but that's kind of the gist of it. And it's not an uncommon thing that these fighters go into dark places whenever they're not competing or getting ready for a bout. They even mentioned Tyson Fury.
I want to be sensitive to what you're saying, and you don't have to reveal anything you don't want to reveal, but you're used to saying something like Tyson Fury spoken about in the past, that if I'm not fighting, I get dark places and I start getting down, or are you saying you get bored? What exactly do you mean by you need to stay busy before, or it does your head in?
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. I've never believed, not believed in that stuff. Like I never got it. It was something that you know, I don't know. Maybe the more and more I learn about my sport, the more and more I understand. Yeah, I don't know. It was different. It was a decision I chose. You know, I talked about us having a smile on my face, me and my wife. Obviously, my wife could see that, you know, it does get hard. I don't know why. You know what I mean? Like, you know, just I think it was just so much going on with obviously the surgery and then the baby and yeah, and then like I just needed to get in camp. So and then this fight come up. I'm like, it's meant to be. Let's do it. So I thought that was what it was, but maybe it was just a silly decision under them circumstances. Again, they're decisions you don't want to make against someone like Islam, and I'm not taking nothing away from him.
And now his mind goes into dark places. This guy had a lifestyle for a while that was definitely not conducive to being a top tier athlete, drinking 18 pints of beer a day paired with vodka and whiskey, then afterwards eating pizza on the way home. Same thing happened to McGregor. Just look at his long list of altercations and legal issues. If you really want to see where this can lead, just look at Tony Ferguson. Ever since the Justin Gaethje fight, at first he was fighting, you know, high levels of competition. Then he went to an unranked Bobby Green. But either way, these opponents all had something in common. They're younger, they move faster than him, and it wasn't the same version of Tony the same prime Tony that was fighting them. And he's just now taking unnecessary damage over and over again. It's clear he's well past his prime, and that Gaethje fight took years off his life. No one even wants to see those fights anymore because everyone's concerned about his well-being, and it's clear that he's not all there either. And it seems to be a recurring trend, at least with some of his fights, the Bobby Green and Michael Chandler fight in particular, that he'll start looking relatively good in the beginning, and then he'll go on to lose the fight. The worst part about this is the UFC matchmakers aren't going to put a stop to this. No one gets the Chuck Liddell treatment anymore, who's actually another example of someone competing well past his prime despite having his chin dismantled over and over again. He even wanted to keep going in his 40s and then fought Tito Ortiz in Oscar De La Hoya's promotion. But Volkanovski's just need to kind of keep himself busy and like that, give himself that sense of purpose. There's a lot of dangerous places this mentality can take someone, as I just mentioned. I'm hoping I'm completely wrong and me and these other YouTubers are just overreacting. I can't help but feel like Volkanovski is just going to run himself into the ground, trying to be competitive and very active into his late 30s, and for who knows how much longer. He has been a very active champion, and that's one of the drawbacks. The sport is not it's unforgiving, you know, in terms of damage that you take, and there's not a whole lot of reward really towards the end. And then these guys who compete longer than they should don't really always get a great send off. But we could also have a timeline where Volkanovski flatline KOs Ilya Topuria in the first. And that's what I hope to see. So that's about all I got for today. Please leave a like, comment, subscribe, share the video. I'll be dropping more content soon, and thanks for watching.